I say it's time to start our meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order for January the 23rd, 2020 for the liaison meeting with the county board of supervisors and the town of Front Royal. First thing on our agenda tonight is review liaison committee mission statements and policies. Jennifer, would you read the summary, please?
Sure. The Front Royal Ward County mission statement and policies for the liaison committee have not been reviewed since September 2010. Considering there are new members on the board of supervisors and the town council, this is an opportunity to review this document and suggest changes as necessary.
Pat, would you go ahead and,
Yeah.
if you have any changes in that or any interviews?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, we have no recommended changes. No council members have presented any recommended changes to us. We just thought it'd be appropriate to put it on this liaison meeting and see if the county had any suggestions. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. But
The only thing I noticed that before it was every other month, and so it said under meeting schedule, meetings should be held the third Thursday of every other month. Since we're doing it quarterly, do we just want to say January, April, July, October, and clarify that rather than 6 times, it's 4 times, unless y'all want to change it back, but it is incorrect on the frequency.
Yeah, it is there, you're right. And I think that ought to be changed. Is there any other discussion on that?
Back in the day, and ex-mayor Kedrick, current interim manager Kedrick, I'm not sure what other titles.
former
he
vice
has.
chairman, Teeter.
But you remember back in the day
Yeah.
when you were on county and I was on the town,
Yeah.
so we used to meet every month.
Yeah.
And I think those meetings were really productive.
Yeah.
And I think 10 years ago or whatever, before your time, there were some concerns and they wanted to try to tighten up the schedule and what you could put on there and what you couldn't. And it was like you couldn't discuss anything that wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah, right. A little too rigid.
I thought so. And there again, I just remember one meeting where, I just want to pass on information to you all as far as like the stoplight at Main and Royal was not in sync with the other one. But based on those rigid restrictions, I couldn't even bring that up. So this should be an information sharing body where we bring up stuff and we can take it back to our respective council board to discuss it further. But just to bring up something like that, of course, you can always pick up the phone too and pass that on as well. So it just seemed like it got a lot more restrictive. I still like the idea of trying to put together a formal agenda beforehand with background information. And then maybe there could be another item added just
Open
for
discussion.
yeah, any other business or whatever like that. And there again, we don't make decisions here, we take it back to other bodies, but for us to pass on something to you all, and you all pass on something to us, for instance, the concerns that we've had out there on, I don't know what it's called, one of the Riverton Commons, and the traffic backup, in which we've seen before too. I think this could be an opportunity just to bring that up, not that we're gonna actually do anything at this meeting, but we could bring it back and look at it and further. So that's the only suggestion I kinda had. And again, we do not make decisions here.
All right, yeah.
Right. Would you and Matt and maybe Doug get together and anyone else who wants to be there to work up a new policy? Or at least add those changes?
I think we could probably do it back.
Is that
to
okay with the
email and
rest
just
of the
say-
group
That's
here?
fine.
Jennifer, do you have this in Word? If not,
I think I do, yes.
Matt, why don't y'all take a stab and we'll send it back and forth. We'll get the camera down.
All right, so the intent is to add perhaps an open discussion item to the agenda.
Possibly just to bring up something, discussion, concerns you all had, and there again, they would be more or less minor, not necessarily policy, but I see something in town,
Yeah.
that just to pass it on, because there's other avenues. You see something down in the county that maybe we can do better, and that'd be good. And I like the idea of letting Jennifer come up with it first, because, well, everybody knows I love additional meetings. But anyway,
right.
but to go from there.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
And then council and board would
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah,
vote
we'd
on
have
it.
to
on it,
review it
yeah.
and reapprove it.
I like the idea of additional meetings too. Could we go back to a monthly for a while? Because it can always be changed back if we can't keep it up. But I'd like to see it monthly at least for a while.
That is
We
something we
can,
can
we
look
can
at.
present that to council and add it and present it to the council, but the council was very adamant about changing it to where it is today. Because it was just, again, going back to the too many meetings, and they
Mr.
saw no
Napier
value
wants
in it.
more. Mr. Napier wants more.
Well, yeah, but you can't go by what he said.
But the thing of it is, back in the day, we had a lot of stuff going on as far as developing the corridor, what we're gonna do there. And then it wound up being every other month. And probably in the last 10 years, maybe, it's been more or less more informational. And that's why we went from every month to every 2 months to every quarter. And there's always that opportunity to call a special liaison meeting if there's something that crops up. So that is something certainly we could look at. But, you know, most of this stuff is like, you know, you look at the agenda tonight, it's what the Community Development Committee's doing.
Yeah.
It's those things too. So it's more or less, here's what we're doing, here's what you're doing. Case in point might have been the sewage treatment plant. So we had updates on that, 'cause we had some concerns about some of the septic haulers and things they had. So, you know, we can certainly look at that, but again, to have a meeting, just to have a meeting, I don't think is a good way to proceed.
I'm not in favor of a meeting just for a meeting, but
Right.
just a suggestion.
Okay, so to understand the intent, so we'll start the draft, we'll start the edits, I'll shoot it over to you, you can re-edit, you and I will agree on what we're gonna present to the appropriate body. And whether you guys decide to do every meeting, just make that change.
Okay, is there any more discussion on this? Tony, you got anything else?
I'm good, thank you, sir.
You good? All right, second thing tonight is our Development Review Committee.
I'll take that one, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, the only thing, instead of reading the summary, I don't see any point in reading that because you're gonna discuss all that.
So, in your packet, you had the summary from the November meeting. They actually met yesterday, so I'll give you a verbal update on the newer stuff. Yesterday, they met, discussed projects in the county, including the site plan for 6475 Winchester Road. That's the new 324,000 square foot warehouse immediately north of the RSW Regional Jail. I know your staff is involved heavily because it's going to involve the relocation of a sewer line that goes up towards Fairground Road. Because the building, as proposed, would sit over top the current location of the sewer line. I would expect them to make a site plan submittal sometime this spring and go through the normal VDOT town utility comment period. Second, status of the multi-tenant building at Riverton Commons. That's the tear down of the bank building there on the corner. It was Chevy Chase, and then it was, I can't remember whichever one it was. But anyway, the bank building's gonna come down. They've applied for a demo permit, and they've applied for a permit for a 3-tenant building. 2 of the tenants, one's gonna be Five Guys, the other one's gonna be Chipotle. And it's my understanding that it'll be one of about 5 in the country that has a drive-through right now. That's something that Chipotle's looking at doing. The site plan has been resubmitted to DEQ and the town for comments, and now I think the developer's waiting for those comments to come back or hopeful approval after they've addressed the initial round of comments. Talked about expansion, the Auto Care Clinic, Mr. Long's facility on 34522. They're looking at putting up a 5-bay building on that property. There are 6 pending short-term tourist rental applications that will be coming to the Board of Supervisors here in the spring. We may give Page County a run for their money for the cabin capital of Virginia. And we've got 2 private use camping applications. In-town projects, they got an update on the sheet site plan. DEQ has responded with some additional comments for the developer to address. Internal demolition, they've got asbestos removal and things, old building like that, the old Shenandoah Motel, they've got some stuff to address with that. So they're working on the interior demolition while they're waiting on their permits. The daycare again was approved at Front Royal Business Park. There was a discussion on housing and local motels. Really, that's transitioned from kind of short-term to long-term tenancy. I know a few years ago, I think at Liaison, we had talked about, I think the town of Ashland had adopted some regulations dealing with, you can't stay in those more than I'm just throwing out 30 days or 15 days. I don't know if that's something I think the town had looked at before. But, you know, that's a lot of our school kids and DSS issues and other stuff, a lot of these motels that have cropped up in transition from, you know, I'm staying there 2 nights, so I'm staying there 2 years. Rite Aid has resubmitted building permits, and they're still pending, I think, to convert to a CVS. We don't know the status of the old CVS and the Food Lion shop, well, former Food Lion Shopping Center. Once we hear something, we'll let you guys know about that. I think they just had a general discussion on affordable housing and, you know, possible locations in and around the town. Committee will meet again on February 26th. Anybody's certainly welcome to attend.
I have one question. On the first one there, you talked about the warehouse, the CUP. Is that gonna be included in the contractual price or relocation of the sewer, or is that?
It's my understanding, yes, that that's part and parcel of the plan.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
I had just a couple maybe. And there again, for new people that may be here or whoever. Would you clarify who is on this committee?
So Development Review Committee includes building official for the county who covers town and county. Usually town planning, Felicia usually attends, Taryn Logan from the county planning department. Rappahannock Electric is electric utility provider out in the county. Health Department, Virginia Department of Transportation, primarily. So the good thing is that if an engineer comes in and says, here, I've got a plan, I want to get some feedback, instantaneously they have most of the major players around the table that can answer questions. If it's a restaurant, I'm talking about health issues, restaurant permit, food services, you've got somebody there. If it's a town utility question, Felicia can get the answers for that. So it really is, it's helpful, and we try to encourage folks. They don't always take advantage of it. We encourage them to go to those meetings. The public's welcome to attend. Press is usually there for coverage. But,
And the purpose is to increase communication between the town and the county and things like that, which I appreciate. How often do they meet?
once a month, fourth Wednesday, 10 a.m. in the government center. And I'd add on to that, it's, you know, we used to hear the comments, well, I get bounced back and forth between the town and county. Right. Everybody's in a room. You know, you have an opportunity to talk to everybody at once, and hopefully get
Because
your
I know
questions
that's what's
answered.
happened before.
Yeah.
We get blamed for the things the town does, and the town gets blamed for the things the county does. So this is supposed to help, hopefully, streamline things. And then I know that Mr. Stanley will give us, during his reports, an update of what's going on. I assume that you all do. And do we, does the town and council also get those minutes?
I don't know the answer to that. I know when I go to give my reports to
Are there
council, we
minutes?
usually give them, I don't know. I don't know if they.
You might want to check to see if there's actual minutes. of that, too.
I've never seen it in
Yeah.
minutes
Yeah.
when it is.
It may be beneficial to both boards.
Who takes the minutes for those?
I don't think they take.
Nobody right now,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I would nominate Chris Holloway. Like I said, I
Yeah,
know
I've heard
that-
very positive things
Yeah.
about the Development Review Committee.
And sometimes somebody's looking to propose a development, they don't necessarily want to be in the minutes because they're looking at different properties and ideas and trying to figure out where they want to go.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned about big lots, and I heard somebody else was coming into the big lot space, but then I saw something on Facebook, and as all we know, everything on Facebook is true and accurate. They said that the one that's coming in there may not be, but again, we have to be careful as far as due diligence and not letting something out that prematurely. So I didn't know if there's anything lined up for that or not, and if you can't comment, you can't comment.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything definitive.
Okay, that's fine.
Have you? Yeah, just what I see on Facebook. That's true.
Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, Doug. Next Next item tonight is boundary adjustment, request by Chris Ramsey. Would you read the summary, please?
Yes, sir. Town Council received a formal request from Ramsey Inc. dated October 22nd of last year for a town and county boundary line adjustment of 20.2206 acres to facilitate the construction of approximately 150 rental apartments to be located at 3853 Guard Hill Road in Front Royal. On October 28th, former town manager was directed by town council to send a formal request to the Board of Supervisors to consider the request. On November 7th, the town received a letter from the county administrator asking for additional information to be able to process the request. The requests are listed in the attached letter. On November 12th, the interim town manager was directed to send a letter to Mr. Ramsey requesting the relevant information for the county. On November 27th, Mr. Ramsey sent a letter to Mr. Tiedrick and copied the county with much of the information requested, with the rest being addressed in the course of a site plan and approval process.
Matt, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, we just wanted to, thank you, Mr. Mayor, we just wanted to find out where things stood with the county and
So planning department is currently reviewing the information that was submitted. I think we received it in December. We're asking the Virginia Department of Transportation to review the request. Most of the concerns we've obviously received have to do with either Guard Hill Road or the traffic signal needed down there, so we definitely want their input. I anticipate in the next month or so being able to take to the board in a work session, have a discussion, see where the board wants to go with it. If they want to send it back to the planning commission and get comments there, or if they want staff to potentially start working on a boundary line adjustment agreement like Front Row Limited Partnership. If you remember there, we kind of worked everything out, including potential proffers, and everything was hammered out in that agreement, because once it goes over to the town, we lose, in theory, lose control from that standpoint. So I think, within certainly 30 or 45 days, we should be able to have all the comments together and be able to take it to the board and see what their preference is.
Doug, do you have all the information you think you need for the?
I think for now, again, VDOT, you may get some additional info, but I think from our standpoint, being able to run our fiscal impact model, looking at, Chris has provided some great examples of what the development's gonna look like, so we can come up with some estimates on what the values would be and how that would impact school generation, all that stuff. We think we got enough information, I think, to be able to do that.
Good. Okay. Any other discussion?
Only thing I would say is, we have several new board members. We're right in the middle of our budget, so that may be a little bit optimistic as far as the time frame, because we have a lot of other stuff on the plate right now. But again, it's something worth looking at, and it could be a definite benefit to the community, but we have to just, I don't know if we'll be able to move quickly on that. Again, staff can gather the information in the meantime, and then, like I said, the board has to consider it and look at the impacts and all those things.
understand.
Anyone else? All right, next item tonight is blighted and derelict structural program. I don't have any summary on that in my packet, so.
There's just a paragraph. As one of their goals for 2019, town council determined that blighted and derelict structures is one of their great concerns. The town's planning and zoning office has drafted an ordinance that is currently being reviewed by the town attorney for council consideration.
Doug, can you?
Yeah, that's gonna be at the
Monday.
next town council work session.
Yeah, we're adding
Monday.
a work session to this regular meeting on Monday, so we can bring up lighted buildings.
So hopefully we'll get some traction on that and get that thing moving.
So, question. County, we have chapter 125, it's a nuisance ordinance. The nuisance ordinance says, for example, an act done or committed or aided or assisted to be done or committed by any person or any substance, which is injurious to or dangerous to public health or safety. All buildings, bridges, or other structures, of whatever character, kept or maintained, or which are permitted by any person owning or having control thereof to be kept or maintained in a condition unsafe, dangerous, unhealthy, injurious, or annoying to the public. Now, that's ours, and we deal with that with outside of town limits. Do y'all have a similar ordinance where y'all can deal with that stuff inside town?
We do, and what our ordinance is gonna do is the town manager, the proposed ordinance, what it would do, the town manager, and I assume he would turn this over to the planning department, would pick out structures that are dangerous and would notify the owner of the structure that it appears at first blush to be a derelict structure, and give the owner 30 days to come up with a plan to address that structure and make it safe. And if the owner does not come up with a plan, then the town itself will address it. And if the town passes what's called a blight abatement ordinance, and the town takes care of it, puts a lien against the property, and if necessary, sells it just like a tax lien. And so that's the way we're going to address it. It's we're following the pattern that, or hopefully would be following the pattern that Leesburg and Loudoun County does. Has worked very well for them, and it's a very efficient pattern. It's expressly permitted by state code, and so we think that should work pretty well. Another thing we're doing, it's a pilot program. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Do you want to address that?
Happy
Yeah.
to. We're also starting an initiative in April called Pride in Our Town, whereby the planning department, and specifically our deputy planner, identifies homes that would qualify for this program. And we have volunteer groups that are interested in working with us. Several churches, several civic organizations have already pledged their support. I met with one today who heard about it and said we want to volunteer as well. And the our planning department's going to go out and do an assessment. Talk to the homeowners, see if they want to participate in the program, whereby we clean up their yard, clean debris from their porches, etc. And in the event there's repairs and maintenance, we have an organization that may want to volunteer to actually do repairs to the house for people that
So
qualify.
it's kind of like United Way Day of Caring, but 365 days a year.
And it's actually
exactly.
going to be on weekends. So it's going to be, we're going to have organizations rotate on Saturdays during the spring and summer or fall, and just see what kind of feedback we get. So far, I hope to have it to council for review at the second work session in February. So we have everything being developed, the flyers, the letters, the data collection form, the volunteer forms, so it's
Waivers, all this.
the waivers he's written, yeah.
Yep.
So, but in this case, the government's gonna be the conduit. We're not doing the work. Our public works department will haul the debris away from the curb at no cost to the homeowner. So we're just gonna see what happens. Yeah.
I mentioned the nuisance thing because it's a little different angle, and for us, it actually, the health official is the one that actually makes that determination. But it's subjective when you say annoying. I mean, some of that, but it's up to the health official to make those determinations. But y'all have a plan to deal with it. That's great. I know you've been talking about it for a number of years, and glad you're able to
We're
move
just
forward.
trying to figure out what's the most cost-effective from the standpoint of local government, and at the same time doesn't raise too much ire with the owners of property. It's a delicate type thing.
Sure.
Is this different? Because didn't you all pass an ordinance? There's some questions as far as who's going to enforce it. Did you pass that ordinance already? And this may be different from cleaning somebody's yard and actually having a real derelict.
Yeah, this is a little different.
Okay.
This is a little different approach, and we think it's a little more surgical approach.
Okay.
I think it'll work. We've looked at a lot of
know.
ways to do that, and this, to say the
I know. No,
least.
it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah,
And I know that we approached the county because I guess their building department, if they wanted to take the lead on it, and because I know, I think Mayor T. wanted to talk about the additional costs, the staff
Right.
member, vehicle, all those things. So it really is what it comes down to is who's going to enforce these things.
Yeah,
This
that-
looks like it's a little bit more delicate than the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a little more cost-effective if you don't want to establish a new town department.
Right. Sounds good.
Yeah. I think this will be a big asset to us if we can get it moving along for everybody, really.
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion on that one? All right, the next item, number 5, is building inspection software. Would you read the summary, please?
Is there an update to this, Doug, or shall I just?
No, you can go and read that,
Okay,
that's fine.
I have it here. The Intergov software system went live on November 14, 2017. Tyler updated the Intergov software testing site in November, and 5 issues were found that stopped the full update. Through many tests and corrections, we're now ready to implement. Our scheduled date for this is February 6th. Once completed, it should allow the town and county to go live with the customer self-service. This will be the final step in the implementation for the project and will allow the public to apply and pay for permits online.
So we're at the goal line. Our GIS coordinator, Doug Sexton, left us last year, and he was heading up a lot of the programming for both town and county. And we had to go back and have Tyler, the vendor, do a lot of the work, and just trying to work through the issues with them. But it looks like here in the next couple of weeks we'll be live. So that's the last piece is, we're running the system, it's working great. Folks on the town can go in the system and they can see where's that permit on the county side to see where it's at. But what you can't do right now is go type in, fill out all your information and pay for it online. So this somebody will be able to do from their house if they want to. A lot of the contractors aren't, but they'd have the ability to be able to do that. I think it particularly is going to be helpful on smaller things like I want to get a zoning permit to put a shed in my backyard. I can do that from home and not have to necessarily go down. I can scan and send whatever I need to the town to get my zoning permit and building permit.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And then we're also going to be trying to roll out some videos and some training, because that's the other piece is you got to help folks walk them through it. I know they're going to be trying to schedule some stuff for the Builders Association so they can invite those folks in to walk them through it. And hopefully, try to get people trained on how to do it so it's not cumbersome.
I think it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Been worked on. Appreciate the cooperation from the town. I think Doug, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the initial vendor kind of got bought out, so that put a little hiccup into things too. And again, going back to what I said previously, this is a good thing to know where the holdup is. Is it with the town or is it with the county? And then that way they can figure out where it is and go forward.
On either side, they can go right in the
Yep.
system.
Is there an initial fee to do it online?
Just for you.
No, nothing additional, nothing additional.
Nothing additional.
No, and ideally, and we struggle, is, in the past, somebody comes and they apply for a zoning permit, and it's working its way through the zoning process. And so that doesn't allow to get started on the county side. The goal is that I apply for my permit, town can start working on zoning, and my plans reviewer can start reviewing it for building inspection, so that you hopefully get done sooner. It's not this time frame plus this time frame, they're running simultaneously, and try to shorten that permit process.
So the credit card fees being absorbed,
We typically, we've got an amount the treasurer charges, that part
Okay.
is there, that's in the code, but yeah. But, so there,
Y'all pass
and that's
that on
normal,
too?
a lot of people pay credit
pass
card
it
for
on?
their current fees.
yeah, that's what we do.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, pay with a check.
Nothing
Well,
new.
Doug, when do you think it actually be operational for both?
I think the hope is on the 7th, last time I talked to David, so, I'll certainly give Matt an update, and
Okay, great.
hopefully we're on target, so,
You say the 7th?
7th of February.
Oh, well, you didn't say the month, so I wasn't sure. So,
We may
I
want
didn't say
to,
what year either.
we may want to include the Chamber Ambassador Program. They're starting that out, we may want to include them in the training.
Okay.
That's it. Any other discussion on that one? Okay, next thing is number 6, the data center. Read the summary, please.
The town is aware that the county has passed a resolution to drop the data center rate to $1 and intends to ratify this adjustment during the 2021 budget approval. The town has been evaluating a reduction from the current 64-cent rate.
Matt,
I'll
would you?
take that, Rob. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doug and I have had several conversations offline about this. The town is prepared to lower its rate from $4, right?
You're at 64 cents. We were at 4.
You're at 4, you're going to 1.
We went to 1.
And the town, we've had a couple meetings to evaluate,
Thank you.
you know, how we would change our ordinance to accommodate a data center. And we were moving along at a great clip until we got to the electric demand and the cost for the electricity. I talked to Doug, I guess it was last Friday or Thursday, and there may be it may likely be a situation where the data center will be responsible for handling the electric. So if that's the case, I think staff probably in the next 30 to 45 days is going to be prepared to come up with a suggestion to council to lower the rate as well, because of the, you know, just sheer massive investment in the community.
So a little background. So, you know, obviously half the internet in the world goes through Loudoun County. They are sitting at 4 something. They don't have to
Right.
have a lower rate because they're the epicenter.
Right.
Prince William, Stafford, Chesterfield, a lot of these other counties on the next ring of the perimeter have gone ahead and moved to lower their rates in order to be more competitive. The folks that we talked to with the state, and Doug Parsons, said, look, you're not going to get on the radar because you've got, you know, Loudoun's hub, but you've got these other communities that are more competitive on your rate if you want to attract, and they are significant economic investment, not, you know, the jobs that are provided are high paying, but it's that investment. And every 5-6 years, they're turning over the equipment, so it depreciates, but it's also turning over very quickly. So I think the upside, and it's really, without this adjustment, you're not going to be in a conversation. I think that's the bottom line.
Sounds like a win-win situation, hopefully.
25, like we looked at, 25% of $100 million investment is better than 100% of nothing.
Right.
If you don't do
Good.
something.
Yeah.
When do you think that might, when y'all get all this work?
Yeah, I think it's gonna, due to the budget season we're in, I'm saying probably 60 days, we'll be able to third, you know, we'll have a draft by that time.
Great. Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay, let's go to number 7. One county in-town projects, we're not gonna read that one. Doug, I'll let you take that one.
Sure. So council in the past has requested to update the county's in-town construction projects. Real quick, so Rusty Jeffries, the roof addition, parking lot, all that was completed a couple years ago. Staff has installed new basketball goals last summer. Future projects simply involve resurfacing the basketball court and striping it, and installation of a few remaining pieces of playground equipment. Otherwise, that project is done. Health and Human Services, this past fall, we completed replacement of windows in 3 sections of the building to match the new windows that have been installed with the other renovated portions. The 2 remaining parts of the building that are yet to be renovated, it's the back wing, which eventually would be the school maintenance building. We've currently working with Mosley Architects to finalize plans. School would like to move their maintenance facility from Commerce Avenue, that's the old Mills Auto Parts building, up to 15th Street. And then basically, the county would have to front the money to renovate their portion, relocate them, and they want to sell that, put that back on the private market, you know, back on the tax rolls on Commerce Avenue. So that'd be an opportunity for the town, and redevelopment for the town. And there's been some interest in that site from time to time. It's a pretty sizable piece of property there on Commerce. The other thing is the senior center. The senior center right now is up Chimney Field Park. It's way undersized for what they need. They really need more space for their Alzheimer's unit and the day program and the Meals on Wheels program. We want to renovate the cafeteria for them for that. And we've been looking, we've tried with Congressman Goodluck before, we're trying to find some grant funds to help them be able to renovate the space. So that's the last 2 things, and we'll keep it posted.
You're gonna keep them there. They
We're
won't
gonna
stay.
move them. We're gonna move them up there, and we had talked previously. CCAP is interested in possibly moving to Chimney Field at some point if the board agrees on that. But they need. It would give them probably 4 times the space up at the 15th Street.
I'm surprised it's still there this long.
There's no room. They don't have enough room for what they're doing. Burl Brooks, we we've completed plans for renovation of a portion. We're gonna renovate the playground, move some equipment around. Lorraine Holquist has donated about $15,000 to buy some, we call it music park. They're different things the kids can play on that make sounds and promote music. And we put one in at Rockland Park, and there's one in down at Fantasyland. So we're hopeful we'll have that done here in a couple weeks, well, probably a month or two. The last thing, we're working right there when you come into town at Guard Hill in the corner to put a Love Work sign. I know y'all have got George McIntyre work to get the one that's been down in the gazebo area, and it's mobile. I know they've talked to us about even putting that on the courthouse grounds at some point. We're looking for a permanent sign in that, basically VDOT right away in that corner section. We've had to do a site plan for VDOT to approve that. They have to approve, give us a permit to be in the right of way. Town utilities, unbelievable. Town utilities are crisscrossing underneath that intersection, so we're having to work around that. That's all been taken care of, we think. And the last thing will be get the permit and then construct it. But it'll be, everybody's using, the tourism committee's working on that as far as you come into the community. It'll hopefully be a nice backdrop on the North Fork right there.
Doug, on that one, that's in the town limits where you're talking about.
It is
So
the town limits.
I guess you've talked to Jeremy and.
They
all that, so-
they've been shared information back, and once the site plan's put together, Jeremy will get that to review.
Great, I just want to make sure that we all in the same loop.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, any questions on any of those? Okay. Next item is number 8, working together regarding the EDA civil suit. Matt, I'll turn it over to you.
I'll turn it over to Doug, Mr. Mayor.
All right,
This one, I don't want to be a party pooper on this, but because we've got a court hearing tomorrow, I don't want to talk too much about it. Loose lips sink ships, so to speak. Right now, I think this is an item that would be better to be postponed talking about, because we're in the opening throes of the case. We haven't even begun discovery. We've got a motion to amend our complaint, and so we really don't know where this thing is headed. Hopefully it will go smoothly, and so I'd say this would be an item that we really ought to postpone for a little while until we can kind of see how the case is going to
I
shake
second that
out.
motion, go to number 9. No, the only thing I would say is, I've always felt that we could work together with some things, as you may know some things that we know, we may know some things, but because you have that going on at this time, it makes it a little bit more difficult to share information. And I think we can share resources as well, because I think the council said it looks like with your attorney fees and audit services, you're talking about $265,000. You know how much we spend a lot in the whole thing. It just seems like we would be better off working together. But as you said, since you've got something coming up tomorrow, just put that off, and then maybe this may be one of those instances where we call a special liaison meeting to see where we're at that time.
I do think there will be a time when this is something that should be on the table between the town and the county, but today is probably not the time.
yeah, the sooner we can resolve this issue, I think the better off we all will be.
Yeah, I think we're all hopeful.
If we can, do it without going to court if necessary. Okay, number 9, resolution to the General Assembly to allow the town to establish its own EDA separate from existing EDA. Matt, I'll turn that over to you this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You may already be aware, we wanted to give you a copy of the actual resolution that was submitted to the General Assembly. It has been, it's House Bill 1572, if you're interested in tracking it. Delegate Chris Collins is patron of the bill, and it's been assigned to a subcommittee, but an actual date for the, to be put on the agenda has not been set. But we did want to have it now, just to reiterate, and correct me, Mr. Mayor, if you think otherwise, but council has not determined to establish an EDA. This resolution was intended to give the town council the opportunity, in the event at some point in the future it's deemed best to have its own independent EDA, and so we wanted to be in a position to have an EDA if we felt it was in the town's best interest.
And one thing for sure, we don't want to undermine the EDA if the county still has it. And that's one thing, at least I don't anyway, I don't know about the council, but I think if we can work together on both issues, I think we'll all be better off in their relationship. Anything else on that one?
I think the thing of it is, EDA's going on for some time, they're getting a historical perspective. And, you know, we go back, I think it was you and me too, on opposite sides where we came up with a fair funding formula. And we agreed to that, it was 7228 for operating, you all got 2 picks, we got 5. About 10 years ago, previous council, they thought it was imperative that the county pay for the whole thing. When we did that, we said we'll choose all the members. Obviously, you all could put forward anybody that you felt could do a good job. So that's how that went. Some of the other things too is, I think there's some misinformation that the EDA was doing everything for the county. Most of the projects in recent years have been in town. You got 150 acres out at Happy Creek, 150 acres at Avtex. Again, most of the projects, I think recently, we don't have that much land out there, but most of the projects that have been done recently have been in town. Not necessarily that they've been good projects, but they have been in town. So I think, you know, the EDA has done a lot for, or have done a lot towards looking for things in the town. So obviously we need to work together. I mean, that's something too that, you know, throwing it out at this point, maybe the town wants to come back in and contribute some of the operating, then you all get 2 picks and you have a little bit more input into the process. I would suggest that maybe to go back to our respective boards to see if we want to have, to set the framework, 2 from you, 2 from us, regarding if we want 2 from the EDA or not, just to figure, where are we going? Because you know as well as I do, they're talking about running out of money sometime in February or March. So where do we go forward with that? Because I think there's still an important part of trying to bring in jobs as well as increasing the tax base. So that's something maybe you can consider too. How do we move forward as far as making EDA a more viable thing? For you all to start yours, us to start ours, I think it's going to be a duplication of cost. And to me, it doesn't really make sense. But those are things that we hashed out. And I just bring that forward for consideration.
Anyone else? Okay. Next thing we have on the agenda today is the update on the Happy Creek Road project. Jennifer, would you read this caption?
On January 13th, council approved the RKK as the consultants to perform the preliminary engineering for improvements to Happy Creek, beginning at the end of Phase 1 improvements and continuing to the Warren County line, Phase 2 and 3. In addition to the preliminary engineering, RK&K will complete the VDOT Smart Scale funding application for this project.
A little bit of background on this. You know, we approved the school and the hospital out there hoping that there would be money in our coffers as far as VDOT. And they had told us we had $3 or $4 million, and we found out later we really didn't have anything. And so it really put this thing us in a bind as far as trying to get this small section built in order to connect the Leech Run Parkway. So we're now trying to do under the smart scale, which you are familiar with, which VDOT comes in and pays the whole cost, if we can get everything ready to bring it forward.
I think the one advantage, you get a couple advantages. One is that road section is right in the middle of your urban development area.
Yes.
That gets extra points in the VDOT Smart Scale system. So that's going to help you with your scoring. The other thing with the new hospital and the Happy Creek Industrial Park, all that, economic development is like 35% of the scoring.
Yeah.
So I think the project has the potential to score very well. Plus, right on the other side of it, the county with VDOT will be breaking ground in a year from now on Phase 4 of the county section of Happy Creek Road.
Right.
So I think that will help you as well.
Yeah. Well, we're going to spend the money to go ahead and do the engineering, so we're hoping that if we get the engineering done and with the other projects that's already completed out there, hopefully we can get some money for this project sooner than what we heard, 2027. but I think hopefully we get along before that, if we can. Matt, you wanna chime in on that?
That's, I, you did a great update, Mr. Mayor, that's all, I don't have anything to add.
I was just gonna say, Mayor T-Walt served on the staff when I was on council, and I think the Happy Creek Road project was supposed to go from the town limits, or from the bridge all the way to the county limits. It was on a 6-year plan, and we took 20 years, and it was cost $5 million. And then we were fortunate to get that one phase at least completed, so, you know, you need to rename that 6-year plan.
Yes.
But,
60-year plan.
You know, our biggest problem is, see, we only get certain allotments for per capita. And usually the inflationary factors eat up the amount of money we receive on that year.
Right.
So really, we hardly accrue any money on the basis of getting the allotment. So we almost at a standstill on anything that we do. Because, you know, we're not like you guys, y'all get it through the state, and we don't get anything from the state except the allocation from the number of people we have in the community for us.
And y'all got other projects too that
Oh, yeah.
are important as well.
Very important, yeah. Okay, is there any other questions on that one? Let's go to number 11, discussion on the vehicle decals. Man, I'll leave that up to you. Oh, first thing, let me read the caption.
You've probably seen it.
Jennifer?
Well respected. The town council would like to formally eliminate the town code requiring a decal be displayed. For that matter, the town may desire not to issue decals at all. From past conversations with the county, it appears that the decal's main purpose is to use the dumpsters located in various areas in the county, to use the county landfill, and to use the town's Manassas Avenue yard waste disposal site. The town's suggestion is to no longer sell the decals for display and discuss other ways that are convenient for citizens to use the dump areas. For example, their vehicle registration or their driver's license.
Okay, Matt, turn it over to you.
So, we had an interesting, I guess this happened just after Christmas. We had a law enforcement officer who was asked by residents to patrol illegal parking on streets, and while he was patrolling and giving tickets for illegal parking on streets, he noticed a lot of town vehicles did not have their decals displayed, and one thing led to another, which led to many people getting ticketed for not having decals displayed, which our code legally requires. So the idea is to see if the county would allow an alternative means if we don't need the decals displayed. Is it acceptable to the county to show a driver's license or registration card? Because I know for the county that may be more problematic because you have addresses in Middletown, Strasburg, etc. But for the town limits, they're all Front Royal, and we think that would solve the problem.
All right, so let me frame the issue, and then I think we're on a similar vein here. So, a number of years ago, prior to 2010, county was noted, it really was back probably mid-2000, 2005 timeframe. We had significant issues with people, like Chester Gap, everybody in Chester Gap, Rappahannock County, they dump their trash on their way out of town, out of London. Park and ride north of town, Shenandoah, Frederick, it was more convenient for them to come dump their trash when they hit the park and ride. Page County, Clark, really, because the Shenandoah Farms part that's in Clark, it's so much more convenient to go to the farm's dumpster site than it is to drive all the way back towards Berryville to go to the dumpster. So we started checking stickers. Of course, then every locality had stickers. Back, it was 6-figure numbers as far as how much trash Warren County residents, including town, are paying to dispose for other counties. So what we started doing was saying, okay, we're going to check vehicle decals and turn away folks that aren't supposed to be dumping. And we started deputies writing tickets, surveilling sites when somebody from Rappahannock or Page would pull up, charge them with illegal dumping, because we had posted the signs. We also, at the same time, to work around, we have a lot of folks that maybe lived in Fairfax or Arlington that had a weekend house and would come out here to Warren County on the weekend, and they're taxpayers, and they wanted to go dump their trash. So we developed, it's a little $5 waste decal we sell annually, and we sell a couple $1,000. We sell waste decals, and they display that, and the guys check them. Our staff will look at registration or driver's license. The person who gets upset is the citizen that gets asked for it. Why are you asking for that? I don't want to get that information. That's part of the runaround. My encouragement is buy the $5 decal if you can. Now, most people, if you got town curbside pickup, you don't go to the compactor site because of town recycling. We have a lot of folks, and they don't ask them, they'll go out and recycle plastic and cardboard stuff at the county comp. I'll see them all the time, which we certainly encourage. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. We do ask for the display, but our staff will ask. It's also hard when it's 15 degrees out. A lot of our staff is, frankly, they're at a retirement age, and this is a retirement type job. I hate for that gentleman who's 75 years old, who's in his booth, and he can see the decal from the booth when you pull up, having to go out. I mean, it's tougher. It makes it a little tougher for enforcement from that standpoint. But our main reason is not to, require a town resident to get a decal. Our main issue is we don't want to pay for disposing of Page or Rappahannock County or Clark County. The other piece is Clark County, which did away with their decal. Clark County pays us for their residents to utilize the Shendo Farms compactor site. And usually every year or two, we do a survey. We go out there and we count the decals. The Warren County ones, we know. The ones that don't have a decal are assumed to be Clark. And we bill them. They get billed like 22% of everything that we ship out of that compactor, for all our cost with the hauling and disposal of trash at that compactor site. So there's a reason why that was the simplest way at the time, and now localities are getting rid of them, but that's why we do it. It's just so we can track who's depositing trash at our compactor sites, because frankly, because we're at exit 6 and exit 13, it's real convenient for folks who are using those parking rides to bring their trash in. Or if I'm living in Page County and I don't want to go back towards Luray and I'm coming to work, I go down 66, it's just easy for me to swing in and throw the trash out.
Is that an annual fee for, you
It's
have to get a
$5
sticker
a year.
every year?
It's a $5, it's a $5 annual fee.
Is that something to consider, just doing $5 one time?
Board could
I
consider
mean,
that.
that's something too.
Yeah,
Just
it's not
makes it
what-
easy.
I mean-
No one needs to
No.
make money on.
No, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
we're not, but the thing of it is, this impacts the county citizens living in town if we have to pay more tipping fees. So it benefits everybody, just so we can make sure that people living in the county utilizes our landfill. I mean, the other idea I had too was if they come out there and they claim they're a front row resident, we give them Matt's phone number and he can verify that they actually live in town. What is that, 555?
Yeah, 555.
But no, I mean, I think that would be something that we could probably look at. I
Well,
mean,
bottom line
if
is-
you wanna use the landfill or the dumpsters,
Yeah.
if it's a one-time fee for a decal.
Because on occasion, we get a call, maybe if it's some homeowner that's doing the work himself, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they're doing the work themselves and they get out there and they say, well, this is construction, you gotta pay, but they can have like a one-time waiver to dump that stuff without having to pay the tipping fee or whatever, so, we're there to, we're from the government, we're here to help.
Okay, so the bottom line, make sure I'm clear, the bottom line is you will accept registration, driver's license, but you prefer to have the $5 sticker, or the sticker, and so.
We could look at trying to do that as a permanent
It's
thing.
just a little more cumbersome, because like I said, a lot of these people are retired, you talk about cold weather, but there again, right around the corner from the one down there at Dismahala, and on Saturdays,
Your next
whatever, yeah, shut up, whatever, it'll back up. So if you got somebody, now they gotta pull out their registration, they gotta pull out their driver's license, and you got a bunch of people behind them, and the whole thing, so it gets a little bit hairy sometimes.
Okay.
Well, Matt, it looks to me like though, if this thing is working the way we're doing it now, then we already have an ordinance in the book, we just need to change it and say it's not required, but if you want to dump, you have to have it on your windshield. I mean, that's the simplest way, not charge another $5, just change our ordinance to take one out and add something to it. It looks to me like that would resolve the whole issue. Because everybody's got a sticker, at least they're supposed to have,
Supposed to have
But
stickers.
it sounded like
but they
too-
don't
I got a
post
couple
it.
extra,
That's the
right.
problem.
Yeah, and it sounded like too, that what you were saying too, as far as checking, I don't know if you said illegal parking or people parking on the streets that,
Yeah.
you know, trying to check if they actually lived in town or whatever, so. You know, we work this out, we'll keep having the discussion.
But most of our waste decal are sold to people who live outside of
Outside
Lorraine
the town.
County.
Yeah.
Come dump here because they own property.
Right,
You know,
sure.
It's a cabin or a vacant lot or. you know,
Okay, I mean, I think, so we'll discuss it at a work session,
Okay.
but I think for the purpose of tonight, we wanted to know from the county's perspective, you know, what the parameters were. I think we hear you, and I think we can relay that to council and come up with some kind of solution.
I think so.
Good.
Okay. It includes our agenda tonight. I mean, I know what you said at the beginning. There's one question I would like to ask, but not particular for a meeting. What are y'all plans on the old sheriff's department?
Absolutely. So, we adopted a capital improvement plan, a program for county facilities, back in like 2008, 9. Eventually, we're gonna need an additional JD courtroom, juvenile domestic relations courtroom. The plan is to build a new J&D courtroom on the sheriff's department site. It's probably 5 to 10 years down the road, but that, pulling the J&D out will give another courtroom, additional space up in the existing courthouse for either general district or the circuit court. When y'all leased it from us, we held off on plans to talk about the demo. Now, of course, probation and parole have been somewhat interested in it. Just like when y'all moved in and said, look, it's gonna need some renovation. If we were to present to the board an option to lease space and have to do some renovation, we'd have to make sure that, you know, we could recoup the cost of renovation. If they're not interested, I think the county's probably gonna demo it and use it for parking. We need parking for the courthouse in the
Well,
short
that's
term.
that was the question, because every time you have court, this whole area is just completely,
I
Wow.
think, yeah, and hopefully, like I said, General Services for the state had gotten information that they advertised, they had a public hearing, they were looking at the old work release building.
Yeah.
To be honest, we've been advertising that for sale. At the same time, I got a new Commonwealth attorney that says he's running out of space in the courthouse, so we may have to look at renovating that space for the Commonwealth attorney. Doug, we need your old building back, what your old office building's going. So I think parking is the short-term answer for us. And, you know, I think,
now, could I ask one more? Do you have any funds to remove it?
we could take care of
Okay,
that.
that's
Yeah.
great.
So it's, I think that's next building committee meeting in a month or two, that's probably what we'll be talking about.
Great.
But I assume that's okay with you guys. and your
Yeah, I love it.
feedback. But it is, especially now, a lot of activity courthouse, the parking is a premium.
Yeah.
And it impacts your parking here, as you know.
Well, you know, the old town hall would make a nice Commonwealth Attorney's office, wouldn't it? You really would.
Sure.
It's too bad y'all don't have control of that anymore.
Yeah, I know.
You know, actually, we had looked at a little bit, could that have been a courtroom? I mean, remember,
Yeah.
those two buildings were built at the same time. And obviously, that building needed a whole lot of work in the ADA accessibility. There's lots of issues. It doesn't mean it couldn't be re-looked at. But I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, I had Mosley look at it as a potential option. Just simply from the standpoint of two buildings matching and
Yeah.
being courthouse.
Sure. Okay, anything else? Not, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.